John Cena. John Cena. Trendsetter, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Listen, man, it was the end of something pretty special for people. It was probably more of an emotional night than I would like to give credit for, because for me, I saw it from one perspective, and then to see other individuals and how much in a moment like this meant to them, because we've had kind of something similar to this where we were kind of like thinking, or people would make the assumption, oh, it's this guy's or girl's last match, they're going to be done after this, but it was never a tour of this nature. So it's bittersweet for a lot of people, and for me too. Listen, I've gone it countless times saying it as the retirement tour was announced, even prior to that too, when we started seeing John Cena in a limited capacity as he was a part-timer. I never had any problem with John Cena the man. It was the character that I felt was forced down our throats for so many years, and to the point where we wanted opportunities for other individuals that we thought were more deserving, or we thought could, hey, listen, let's give this person a chance, rather than us having continually the same thing over and over again, even though it was working for the company at that time. But listen, all I can say is congratulations to John Cena and an amazing over 20-year career. And one thing that has been, a focal point during this whole process, and especially towards the end, as people were talking about during the pre-show and post-show for Saturday night's main event, was the one word when you look at John Cena, you think about him, at least I do, is respect. Respect the man, respect all he did and what he left behind, and kind of to what he said, he wanted to leave it in a better place than what it was. And I think despite how the ending went, despite how people want to feel about it, I think it was a success nonetheless in terms of what we were able to get from this final run.
This is the Saturday night's main event, John Cena's farewell match post-show. Again, you can follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Thank you for all the IG followers. We really appreciate you so much. And again, here on the Give a Shot Network. And if you can't watch us, listen to us on all podcast platforms. This episode will be available in podcast as well. Again, thank you all the crew for joining us once again here on HSP. And we are going to give you a great show tonight. And obviously, there's one thing you talked about John Cena so well. Respect is definitely the word you think about John Cena, and that's it, man. I like, as we were getting close to showtime, I was really anticipating this, man. Obviously, if you follow our social media, we were really promoting this too, because obviously this doesn't happen it doesn't happen so often about someone leaving on their own terms. Again, John Cena would argue that it's not leaving under his terms, but you guys know what I mean. I mean, this is all a 1 year anticipation, and to believe how quickly time just goes by. And I think that's what I think for the older fans, for the older generations, they look at something like tonight, and a little bit of that childhood kind of like goes along with John Cena's retirement. So much to discuss. 4 matches, trendsetter. We'll get to all that stuff, but it has to end and start with John Cena right now, because obviously, and I'm just amazed by just your capacity to book here, because you obviously were just very spot on here. Everyone is talking about the ending, the closing of the show, and should John win or lose. I think we all came to the point, and the reality is that this is the business. This is a passing of the torch. This is the way it's supposed to be. Nobody is different. If you want to talk about Hogan passing the torch to The Rock, and Stone Cold passing it to The Rock at 19, and then you get all these things where it's Father Time remains undefeated, and to think that John Cena would walk away as the winner here, it would have been great. The fans would have, the fans were just amazing tonight. But you have to do what's right for the business, man, and this was the right thing to do. When you look back on it, maybe in 6 months or so, you're gonna realize, hey, this is what always happens. This is a circle of life in pro wrestling. And while tonight you're angry, you're yelling at Triple H, you're cursing him out, people even yelling, "We want Vince," while Michael Cole was talking about John Cena and giving his final thoughts, even yelling AEW, you're going to realize that this is just the way the business goes, and it is a circle of life in pro wrestling.
Listen, as much as I love wrestling fans, and I proudly say I am one of them, right? Sometimes they're going to chant some stupid stuff, and that was what ended happening. Listen, regardless of how the ending ended, what the end result was going to be, who was going to come out victorious, how one was going to lose, the manner in which they lost, you can book this any way you want, right? No one was going to be happy. But the one thing I will respect, unlike certain things, whether you're talking about the way a movie ends or TV series, I hate it when it's left up to interpretation. I hate when it's the decisions made to try to appease everyone. The decision was made in terms of how Triple H talked about it as he was getting booed viciously on the post
Oh,
show panel. It's a time honored tradition, right? I know a lot of people hate that expression, but it is true that when somebody's on their way out, you help push along, give the rub, whatever terminology you want to use in wrestling. I know wrestling purists hate using that terminology, but I'll use it anyway. Passing of the torch or putting someone over. And in the scenario, we can debate the manner in which it was done. Fair, everyone's going to have their opinion and their perspective on it too. But what else would anybody expect? Because if you're going to have the greatest of all time go out, have him go out a way that we have never seen in a really, really long time. Michael Cole finally, and I'm actually happy they made mention to this, where I think he said it was almost over 12 years or something like over 12 years that John Cena last tapped out. So thank you. At least there was the existence that he did tap out early in his career, but then from there he had never been defeated by submission, though it's been pinned or a kibosh or some schmaz or anything like that. For him to have that moment where he's struggling and fans are chanting Super Cena for the first time in my life, actually want Super Cena, and for him to give that smile to the camera saying, it's okay, it's supposed to be like this, and then tap out with a grin, what other way would you have expected him to lose? To give that over to Gunther. Now, Gunther's going to use that. Gunther's going to be there next week and the week after that. John's not going to be. So to me, it was the right call, was the right decision. My only concern now, and again, we talked about this in during the show when we recorded during the week. What does this do for Gunther now? You're going to strap a rocket on his back because after a win like this, what's it leading towards for him for the Royal Rumble and leading to WrestleMania, which is down the road, believe it or not, in next year. So, but again, what were people expecting? Let me ask you this question, Jeff, too. If John Cena had won, would there have been an uproar of him coming out victorious in his final match? Would you have been satisfied with that ending?
see, this is the instant satisfaction that people want. It's fine for today. It's fine for when I'm cheering. It's fine where John Cena's they're putting the championships on his shoulders and he's celebrating. But then tomorrow, you're like, John Cena's not there anymore, but Gunther is. And then you have to well, how now do we fix Gunther here, who loses to John Cena? He's not here anymore. How does Gunther, get the payback? He doesn't. That's why you have to take your emotion out of it and you have to think about tomorrow. It would have been a beautiful thing because I recall the only person that left winning that I can remember is Trish Stratus, and she was there in attendance. She beats Lita and she wins the championship. And that's the last thing I can remember. And for
Now we
John
had Edge. But
Edge,
he ended on top because he was forced to retire later on. But those are two individuals that ended up leaving on top.
exactly. And again, different reasons. I'd like, you're right. Injury is one thing because you thought he was going to be there the next day and the next day. But for John, who's not there, again, it's a beautiful moment. There's nothing the fans want to do is go home happy. But obviously, a special case here because those fans were emotionally that is as emotionally invested as I've seen an audience in a long time. They were rooting every second of that match. And the thing is, now as I see that match, I understand. It was like a tug of your heart. It's a tug of your emotions. You're rooting, you're happy, you're exuding this he's gonna get out of it. He's not. And then of course the slow progression of the end of John Cena, that he's he's fighting out of it. It's classic Transitor. I mean, there's nothing that was new. There's nothing that new that you saw tonight. It was classic. The hero takes, the hero dies on his sword. Super Cena, he got out of it, tried to get out of it, carried Gunther 260 pounds, 250, 260, whatever, and tried to get him off, and he couldn't at the end. And then the hero, again, the motto is never give up. But you know what? Listen, this does not hurt John Cena in any way. And John Cena realizes it's what you do. It's all that he's ever wanted to do is just pay it forward. And that's the best way he can do, because John Cena is done tonight, and Gunther's there on Monday, and the next Monday, and the Monday next, and the Monday after that, and a year from now, and 2 years from now.
Yeah, well, in terms of comments we're getting here on this stream right now, you're seeing right now where people feel like, hey, they screwed up. But I would ask the question to you, and I would love members of the crew who are watching this live stream right now and responding. In what way? Because if John Cena wins, though, what does it do? I mean, listen, I know it's a fantasy story. It's fantasy booking, right? I understand and I get that, but like sometimes you don't get that storybook ending. And how many times have we seen in the past where people have retired or have left the company and they've put the other person over? So I don't understand. Listen, and maybe if you could further explain where they screwed up specifically. If it's just the ending, then I think it's not much validity behind that. If you can explain that a little bit more. But like, where did they screw up? Were we expecting John Cena to come back victorious in his final match and go off into the sunset with a win by not putting the other guy over? I don't